Good afternoon. 3 years ago, we started OpsMx with a dream. The dream is, can we deliver, or the dream is to deliver software without any human intervention. Every dream needs friends. And today, I want to thank all of you for being that friend and for all that hard work you put to make Spinnaker come this far. And they say, no friends, no dream. 3 years later, we are 60 employees, and we contribute to Spinnaker, made about 600 contributions. We're just ramping up our contributions now. 19 contributors, SIGs, approvers, etc. We as a company believe in Spinnaker. We provide open source Spinnaker support, and we have a layer that's pluggable on top, and you can remove it too. It's called the Enterprise Spinnaker Extensions. We also have a machine learning layer. One of the pluggable extension is a machine learning layer called Autopilot. Our team is, we have a few, we have from Netflix, AWS, Cisco, Oracle, etc. Today, I want to ask the question, how big can Spinnaker be? So, the crystal ball, it can be 200 billion apps delivered in a year. Now, how did I sort of come up with that? Spinnaker, to me, delivers software to any device. That's the full potential. So, simply, you have 15 billion IoT devices. You upgrade them or change them once a month, and you get to 200 billion. You have 5 billion mobile phones. The question I always ponder is, where are we now? Probably, my guesstimate is around 20 to 40 million deliveries a year. Now, where could we go? Again, it's a guess. It depends on how we as a community make this happen. We could, in a couple of years, we could probably be 500 million, 1 billion. Today, we are 2,000 to 3,000 companies using Spinnaker. I could see it happening 15,000 to 25,000. Community today is about 3,000 contributors, 8,000 Slack members, which is about roughly 10,000. We can get to 25,000. I think the question is, what do we have to do to get there? Because nothing is guaranteed in life. I am looking at a historical success, which is called the internet. The reason I picked it is personally because I have a story in it, and also because it's played out very well. So internet connects every device that runs software. Just like Spinnaker can deploy to every device, internet connects every device that runs software. Roughly, this is the ubiquity curve for internet. 1993, when I first got on the internet, was about 40 million. 40 million users. 1998 was about 400 million. Then 2008 was 4 billion, and now it's 15 billion. Mainly, the adoption went stepwise. The 4 billion and the 15 billion is because of mobile and IoT devices. But let's look at the 1993 to 1998. This is where large companies were adopting internet. It was fairly complex because I was involved in it. And they were always trying to scale. So there were pioneers that sort of adopted it. After it scaled, then there was a larger simplification that happened to the internet that led it to scale further. And then we were working on making it reliable. If I look back, or if I look forward towards Spinnaker, I think to make it ubiquitous, it needs to be scalable, simple, simplify, and safe. What do I mean by scalable? What I mean by scalable is very many dimensions. First, you have to have performance, number of namespaces, number of pipelines, number of application delivered, etc. You have to have integrations. But more importantly, yeah, apologize. More importantly, we need to, scalability is all about the number of applications that you can deliver. So it's today, the types of applications you can deliver. You have microservices. You have to be able to deploy monoliths. You have to be able to deploy different infrastructure, Kubernetes, AWS, etc., bare metal, etc. And you have to also be able to operate in highly regulated with compliance and with various policies in there. Simple. There comes a stage where the complexity is great. You actually, the scaling is awesome, but then there's a certain set of adoption curve that hits wherein you need to simplify both within large organizations. For example, you need to be able to self-service onboard applications, self-service onboard, etc. And then you need to make it safe because, as I say, speed thrills but kills. So you need to make it safe. So let me talk about a little bit of the scalability. So one of the scalable, what I mean by scalable platform is to deliver microservices and monoliths. So this is, today, everybody is moving to microservices, but there is about 90%, a lot of companies have 90% of their applications as monoliths. Those monoliths can be loosely said, okay, there's a loosely coupled monoliths, tightly coupled monoliths, and we work with large companies where the 10% is easy. There's a 25% where with best practices, etc., we can get to it. There's another 25% where you need to use things like a Terraform, etc., Terraform stage that we built, etc., to get to there. And I think in order to get that adoption curve to maximize, it would be awesome to have the Spinnaker community provide more support. There are always limitations, but that's what would increase adoption. The second dimension that I want to talk about is working across compliance and security environments. In life, you have to have compliance, and there are a lot of large companies that have to work in regulated industries. Today, Spinnaker provides compliance as policy controls for accounts, applications, etc. I think the goal would be if you can go to finer grain policy controls. An example would be a stage. Can you set a policy by stage? And also towards runtime execution, which is can you do pipeline during compliance checks during a pipeline execution. Now, what do I mean by simple? What I mean is simple to deploy and configure. Then simple to onboard users. Essentially, can you have implicit pipelines, so wherein you can set up the policies without having to, essentially the self-service onboarding of applications. Then to deliver, and simply can you deliver it and operate. Ultimately as a continuous delivery platform grows, there will be a lot of other simpler tools that work in a certain environment that if we don't simplify or even downscale, it will impede the ubiquity of a platform. The third, which is safe. When you go fast, when you go at scale, safety is going to become a critical aspect. When I say, the way I think about safety is safety to deliver and safety to operate. I think if you look at the SDLC, there is pre-production, production rollout, and post-production. I think the safety and verification is not just limited to production rollout verification. It has to, there is a post-production deployment automated verification, and I don't think the rollback should actually be linked with that. And there is also, from pre-production, you can actually look at the data and to make it safer, to be able to learn from the data and to make the delivery safe. So let me just briefly touch upon what OpsMx is doing in these various areas. So OpsMx approach to scalability is that we have, when we work with customers, for example, when somebody wants to have a stateful application that's delivered, like a database, we have a database stage, which we're going to open source. Now it basically would be MySQL, PostgreSQL, and in the future it'll be SQL Server and Microsoft, Oracle. We also have a compliance, a fine-grained policy authorization compliance that I talked about, bits and pieces of it, and we're going to open source that. We have audit trailing, and for infrastructure, we open source the bare metal framework. We have a bare metal framework, we open source the Terraform stage. Our approach to simplify is for deployment and lifecycle management. We've open sourced an operator, Kubernetes operator. We also have Spinnaker running in UBI for some of the regulated customers. We have Red Hat certified operator that basically allows your lifecycle management of Spinnaker to be done easily. For onboarding app users, my belief is that that's where you need to really simplify. We have GitOps triggered pipelines, but we're also going to invest in that area. For operations, we have a continuous delivery dashboard. OpsMx's approach to safe delivery is that we essentially have a product called Autopilot. Autopilot, what it would do is it basically essentially ingests all your logs, metrics, etc., and makes assessments of during the delivery, during staging, during canary analysis stage. It basically assesses what the risk levels of your releases are. And then into production, we monitor and also use that to roll back. So, I'm going to conclude my presentation with the belief that I believe that Spinnaker can deliver software to any device, and I think it can become mainstream. The keys is to be able to make it scalable platform. We as a community should work on it, and to make it simple, and to make it safe. Thank you. Can you repeat?
So my question was, you discussed Spinnaker being able to, as a vision, to deploy to any device. The larger the company, the more likely that they have legacy or non-cloud
Yes,
workloads.
yes.
So is that an effort of Spinnaker to, at the open source level or at the vendor level, to kind of bridge that and allow better deployments for on-premise like VMware and others?
Yes. So the question is, yeah. So the answer is yes. I think that to be able to deploy to, I don't know if I would call VMware legacy, but yeah, legacy infrastructure, bare metal, VMware. I think we are committed to it, and at the right time, we would definitely open source that as a vendor. But I think as a vendor, we're driven by customer priorities. But definitely, that's a vision for sure. And without that, I don't think. I mean, there will always be a limitation to ubiquity, for example. Adoption of Spinnaker would be yes, and we get asked that all the time.